The Jakarta metropolitan region faces a transportation crisis. With nearly 150 million people crammed onto the island of Java, Indonesia's railway infrastructure is buckling under pressure. To address this mounting challenge, the Indonesian government earmarked $185 million for a fleet of modern electric trains. The contract seemed destined for a Japanese manufacturer, until it wasn't. In a dramatic reversal, Indonesia awarded the lucrative deal to a Chinese rail company instead, leaving Japanese competitors empty-handed and sparking controversy across Asian business circles. Japanese media outlets quickly floated accusations of political manipulation, suggesting that China had leveraged its financial influence over Indonesia to secure the contract. They pointed to the recently inaugurated Jakarta-Bandung high-speed railway, a Chinese-built megaproject backed by substantial Chinese loans, as evidence of Beijing's growing sway over Indonesian infrastructure decisions. But is this narrative accurate? Did China really pressure Indonesia into abandoning its Japanese partners? Or does the truth reveal a more complex story about competitive bidding, pricing strategies, and technical capabilities in the global rail industry? Before we dive deeper into this geopolitical puzzle, if you find this analysis valuable, please subscribe to stay updated on our coverage of international economics, infrastructure, and development stories from around the world. To grasp why this train contract matters so profoundly, we first need to understand Indonesia's unique geographic and demographic reality. Indonesia stands as the world's fourth-largest nation by population, home to approximately 276 million people as of late 2023. This massive population is distributed across an archipelago of more than 17,500 islands, spanning 1.9 million square kilometers of territory. Yet despite this vast geographical spread, the population distribution tells a remarkable story of concentration and imbalance. The island of Java, though representing just a fraction of Indonesia's total landmass, has become the economic engine and population center of the entire nation. Jakarta, the bustling capital city, sits on this island alongside roughly 150 million residents, a staggering 60% of Indonesia's total population. This concentration creates one of the most densely populated regions on Earth, with population density exceeding 1,000 people per square kilometer in many areas. This demographic reality places extraordinary strain on Java's infrastructure systems, particularly its transportation networks. PT KAI, Indonesia's state railway operator, now confronts a resource crisis that threatens the mobility of millions. Their aging fleet has reached the end of its operational lifespan, with many older carriages no longer safe or practical for daily service. Indonesia's state-owned rolling stock manufacturer, Inka, initially attempted to modernize 19 aging train units through refurbishment programs. However, this effort yielded disappointing results. Only 2 trains successfully completed the transformation process. The failure left a critical gap in the transportation system precisely when demand was surging to unprecedented levels. The numbers paint a stark picture. During 2023, PT KAI recorded average weekday passenger volumes of 830,000 riders. By mid-2024, that figure had climbed toward the 1 million mark. Railway executives project continued growth at approximately 6% annually through 2027, driven by urbanization, economic expansion, and increasing preference for rail transit over congested roadways. Without immediate intervention to expand fleet capacity, Indonesia faces a transportation bottleneck with serious economic consequences. Commuters would face longer wait times, overcrowded carriages, and reduced service reliability. Businesses would struggle with supply chain delays and workforce accessibility issues. The ripple effects could dampen economic growth across the entire Jakarta metropolitan region, affecting employment, productivity, and quality of life for tens of millions of people. Recognizing the urgency of the situation, Indonesian Railways developed a comprehensive, phased acquisition strategy to rebuild their commuter fleet. The plan called for introducing an initial batch of 3 new electric trains in early 2025, followed by 8 additional units later that same year. These new trains would systematically replace the worn-out models that could no longer meet modern safety and performance standards. At the end of 2023, Indonesian Railways formally requested $185 million in funding from the national parliament to finance this critical procurement. The scale of investment reflected both the technical sophistication of modern electric multiple units and the urgency of addressing the transportation capacity shortage. What happened next surprised many international observers. Drawing on the positive experience from the Jakarta-Bandung high-speed rail collaboration, a landmark infrastructure project completed with Chinese partnership and financing, Indonesian authorities chose to work with China once again. Rather than opening a prolonged competitive tender process, they opted for continuity with a proven partner. For China, this $185 million contract represented more than just a commercial transaction. It offered an opportunity to deepen its role in Indonesia's transportation transformation and energy transition initiatives, while demonstrating the reliability of Chinese rail technology in one of Southeast Asia's most demanding markets. In January 2024, CRRC Sifang, one of China's premier rail manufacturing companies, officially signed the electric train supply agreement with Indonesian Railways during a ceremony in Beijing. The contract marked a historic milestone, China's first export of commuter electric multiple units to Southeast Asia, opening a new chapter in regional rail cooperation. The agreement signed between CRRC Sifang and Indonesian Railways outlined specific technical requirements designed to address Indonesia's unique operational needs. China committed to delivering 11 brand-new electric multiple units engineered with cutting-edge rail technology. Each train would achieve maximum operating speeds of 120 kilometers per hour, a dramatic improvement over the existing Indonesian fleet, which averages just 50 kilometers per hour in regular service. This speed enhancement alone would cut typical commute times by more than half, fundamentally transforming the daily experience of hundreds of thousands of riders. The train configuration reflects modern high-capacity design principles. Each unit consists of 12 carriages with a maximum passenger capacity of 3,396 people per train. This substantial carrying capacity ensures that the new fleet can accommodate peak hour demand in the Jakarta metropolitan area's busiest corridors. Construction materials received careful consideration. The trains feature stainless steel body construction, chosen specifically for durability and resistance to Indonesia's tropical climate conditions. The 1,067 mm track gauge matches Indonesia's existing railway infrastructure, ensuring seamless integration into the current network without requiring costly track modifications. Modern passenger amenities distinguish these trains from Indonesia's aging fleet. LED dynamic electronic route maps provide real-time journey information, while passenger information display screens keep riders informed about schedules, connections, and service updates. These digital systems enhance the user experience and help passengers navigate the complex commuter network more efficiently. From an operational perspective, the trains incorporate simplified maintenance features, including centrally located operation consoles that streamline inspection procedures and reduce downtime. This design consideration addresses one of PTKI's persistent challenges, keeping trains in service despite limited maintenance resources. The delivery schedule follows a tight but achievable timeline. The first 3 trains are scheduled to arrive in January 2025, providing immediate relief to the most congested routes. The remaining 8 units will follow by September 2025, allowing Indonesian Railways to gradually phase out older equipment while maintaining service continuity throughout the transition period. Indonesian officials have articulated clear strategic reasoning for continuing their partnership with Chinese manufacturers, and these explanations deserve careful examination. The successful collaboration on the Jakarta-Bandung high-speed railway established a foundation of trust and operational familiarity between Indonesian and Chinese rail authorities. This prior relationship delivered tangible benefits beyond the immediate project outcomes. Because Indonesia had already validated Chinese train designs through the high-speed rail project, they could bypass extensive re-evaluation processes for this new procurement. This saved considerable time and financial resources that would otherwise have been consumed by design assessments, safety certifications, and compatibility testing. During recent parliamentary testimony, the director of Indonesia's National Railway Authority explicitly outlined the procurement's core objective: meeting escalating rail transportation demand across the Greater Jakarta region, including the surrounding municipalities of Bogor, Depok, Tangerang, and the broader Jabodetabek metropolitan zone through 2025 and beyond. Once these new Chinese-manufactured trains enter service on the Jabodetabek commuter lines, replacing the obsolete rolling stock currently in operation, the system's daily passenger handling capacity is projected to reach 1.8 million riders, more than double the current volume and sufficient to accommodate projected growth through the end of the decade. The economic implications extend far beyond transportation metrics. Indonesian economists estimate that the improved commuter rail service could contribute approximately 5% to regional economic growth. This multiplier effect operates through several channels. Reduced commute times increase worker productivity. Improved reliability makes businesses more efficient. Better connectivity opens new areas for development, and enhanced mobility attracts investment to previously underserved districts. The controversy surrounding this contract intensified when Japanese media outlets began reporting that Indonesia had originally selected a Japanese manufacturer before switching to China. These reports suggested geopolitical pressure rather than commercial considerations drove the reversal. The reality, according to Indonesian sources, proves more nuanced and ultimately more straightforward. The initial procurement process did attract interest from multiple international competitors, including manufacturers from Japan, China, and South Korea. Early negotiations indeed proceeded with a Japanese company, which appeared positioned to win the contract. By September of the previous year, Indonesian Railways had substantially completed negotiations with the Japanese bidder and seemed close to finalizing the agreement. Then came an unexpected development. In October, approximately 1 month after the preliminary agreement, the Japanese company submitted a revised price proposal to Indonesian authorities. The new quotation included a significant price increase, nearly $230,000 additional cost per train unit compared to the original offer. This sudden price escalation prompted Indonesian procurement officials to reassess their options. Faced with substantially higher costs than initially anticipated, the government determined it had a fiduciary responsibility to explore alternative proposals before committing public funds. This decision-making process reflects standard procurement best practices, securing optimal value for taxpayer money while meeting technical requirements. When Indonesian authorities compared the revised Japanese offer against Chinese proposals, the Chinese bid demonstrated superior competitiveness across multiple dimensions, not just pricing, but also technical specifications, delivery timelines, and contractual terms. Indonesian media coverage and government statements have consistently emphasized that the entire procurement process adhered to fair and transparent bidding procedures. Officials explicitly rejected allegations of external political pressure, particularly the suggestion that China leveraged financial influence to secure the contract. Instead, they framed the decision as a straightforward commercial choice based on objective evaluation criteria. Beyond pricing considerations, several substantive factors contributed to China's competitive advantage in this procurement. The choice between aluminum and stainless steel train construction became a decisive technical issue. South Korean manufacturers typically produce train bodies using aluminum alloys, which offer advantages in weight reduction and energy efficiency. However, Indonesian specifications explicitly called for stainless steel construction. This preference reflects Indonesia's specific environmental conditions. The tropical climate, with its high humidity, salt air in coastal regions, and intense ultraviolet exposure, creates corrosive conditions that demand exceptional material durability. Stainless steel bodies provide superior resistance to these environmental stresses, resulting in longer operational lifespans and reduced maintenance requirements. For a railway operator with limited maintenance budgets and high utilization rates, this durability advantage carries substantial long-term value. Chinese manufacturers not only met the stainless steel requirement, but also demonstrated willingness to customize other specifications to Indonesian preferences. CRRC agreed to configure air conditioning systems optimized for tropical conditions and to adjust seating arrangements based on Indonesian passenger patterns and cultural preferences. This flexibility in customization contrasted with more standardized offerings from other bidders. Indonesia's assessment also considered the actual implementation record of different rail suppliers in regional projects. This comparative analysis revealed troubling patterns among some competitors. Japanese companies had secured major railway contracts in both Vietnam and India, yet project execution in both countries fell far short of commitments. In Vietnam, a Japanese contracted railway project experienced such severe delays that construction had not even commenced years after the initial agreement. India's high-speed rail project, also awarded to Japanese firms, similarly languished with less than half the route completed despite years of work. These examples illustrated a gap between winning contracts and delivering operational railways, a critical distinction for Indonesia, which needed functional trains on accelerated timelines, not just signed agreements. China's railway construction record presents a stark contrast. By 2023, China had constructed over 158,000 kilometers of high-speed rail track, establishing the world's largest and most heavily utilized high-speed rail network. This achievement demonstrates not just engineering capability, but also organizational excellence in project management, manufacturing scalability, and systems integration. The expansion of China's high-speed rail from the initial 4 vertical and 4 horizontal network to the more ambitious 8 vertical and 8 horizontal configuration showcases systematic planning and execution capacity. These networks don't just exist on paper. They transport hundreds of millions of passengers annually with industry-leading safety and reliability records. Through the Belt and Road Initiative, Chinese rail companies have successfully deployed their technology across diverse international contexts, from Southeast Asian jungles to European transit systems to Middle Eastern desert environments. This geographic diversity demonstrates adaptability and the ability to customize solutions for different regulatory frameworks, climatic conditions, and operational requirements. The allegation that China exerted political or financial pressure to secure this contract requires serious examination, as such practices would undermine fair procurement processes and international commercial norms. Several factors argue against this interpretation of events. First, the chronology doesn't support a pressure narrative. The Japanese bid initially led the competition and seemed positioned to win before the company itself submitted a revised price proposal with substantial increases. Indonesian officials only reconsidered their procurement strategy after this price revision made the Japanese offer less competitive. If China had been applying pressure to secure the contract, why would Indonesia have proceeded so far in negotiations with Japan in the first place? Second, Indonesia's decision-making aligns with rational economic self-interest rather than external coercion. The government faced rising transportation demand, budget constraints, and a compressed timeline for fleet replacement. Selecting the most cost-effective proposal that met technical specifications and delivery schedules serves Indonesia's national interests regardless of geopolitical considerations. Third, Indonesian authorities explicitly addressed and rejected the pressure allegations in public statements and media interviews. While such denials don't definitively prove absence of influence, the specificity and consistency of Indonesian explanations, focusing on price comparisons, technical requirements, and delivery timelines, suggest genuine commercial rationale rather than diplomatic deflection. Fourth, Indonesia has demonstrated willingness to work with multiple international partners across different infrastructure sectors, maintaining relationships with Japan, South Korea, European nations, and others alongside Chinese partnerships. This diversification strategy contradicts the image of a country under singular foreign influence. The Jakarta-Bandung high-speed rail project, often cited as evidence of Chinese leverage, actually demonstrates successful project delivery that built confidence in Chinese capabilities. Indonesia's willingness to work with China again stems from positive prior experience, not indebtedness or coercion. If the high-speed rail project had encountered the delays and cost overruns seen in Japanese projects elsewhere, Indonesia would likely have sought alternative partners regardless of loan arrangements. This procurement outcome carries significance beyond Indonesia's borders, offering insights into evolving dynamics in Southeast Asian infrastructure development. The decision illustrates how technical performance and execution capability increasingly influence procurement decisions in developing economies. Governments in the region face urgent infrastructure deficits that constrain economic growth and affect citizens' daily lives. They cannot afford projects that languish incomplete for years or decades. This reality advantages suppliers who can demonstrate reliable, timely delivery of functional infrastructure. China's competitive positioning in rail technology reflects decades of sustained investment in domestic infrastructure, which created economies of scale, refined manufacturing processes, and accumulated operational experience that now translate into export competitiveness. The sheer volume of China's domestic rail network means Chinese manufacturers have production capacity that can be rapidly redirected to export contracts without long waiting periods. For Southeast Asian nations, this creates procurement options. Rather than depending exclusively on traditional suppliers from Japan or Europe, they can evaluate multiple competitive alternatives and select based on specific project requirements, timelines, and budget constraints. This competitive dynamic benefits customer countries through better pricing and terms. The emphasis on customization also matters. Indonesia's insistence on stainless steel construction and tropical-optimized air conditioning reflects specific local conditions that differ from temperate climate rail systems. Suppliers willing to adapt their standard designs to these requirements demonstrate customer focus that developing markets value highly. Indonesia's choice to partner with China for its $185 million commuter train procurement ultimately reflects pragmatic decision-making driven by commercial, technical, and operational considerations rather than geopolitical pressure. The Japanese company's decision to significantly increase pricing after initial negotiations created an opening for competitors. China's ability to offer competitive pricing, meet technical specifications including stainless steel construction, customized designs for tropical conditions, and commit to accelerated delivery timelines made their proposal objectively superior on the metrics Indonesia prioritized. The broader pattern evident in this transaction suggests that in infrastructure competition, execution capability matters more than historical relationships or diplomatic ties. Countries facing urgent development needs increasingly select partners based on demonstrated ability to deliver functional systems on schedule and on budget. As Indonesia moves forward with fleet modernization, the real test will be whether these Chinese-manufactured trains perform as promised, improving commute times, expanding capacity, and contributing to regional economic growth. Success would validate Indonesia's procurement decision and potentially influence similar evaluations across Southeast Asia. Failure would reinforce skeptics and create opportunities for competitors. For now, Indonesia has made its choice based on the evidence available and the proposals presented. Whether that choice proves wise will be determined not by geopolitical analysis or media narratives, but by the daily experience of millions of commuters on the railways of Java. What's your perspective? Did Indonesia make the right decision in selecting Chinese rail technology for this critical infrastructure investment? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and enable notifications to stay informed about future coverage of global infrastructure development, international economics, and the evolving dynamics shaping transportation systems worldwide. We'll continue bringing you in-depth analysis of the stories that matter.